Yeah, my name is Anna Wojcik. First of all, I apologize for my voice, which is kind of a little bit deep down today, but I don't know, I'm coming down with something or whatever it happened, but I try to speak slowly and loud enough so you can understand, because I have a tendency to start speaking too fast, and then people say, just slow down a little bit because we don't understand what you're saying. With my accent, I can understand might be a problem, so I try to control myself. I was born and raised in Poland, spent 30 years in Poland, and exactly the same time in here. I came to this country in 1980 when everything started changing in Poland. I grew up, my first 11 years I spent on a small farm on the east part of Poland, close to Russian border. And those 11 years living on a farm taught me being responsible and live really close with the nature and God, because we work hard to grow whatever we're growing, but also was 6, sometimes 7 days they work, but it was always Sunday to go to church no matter what. So I grew up with a strong faith and also hard work. Before even when I turned 11, because then I moved to a big city, when I was growing up in this small village, after the Second World War, we had religious classes in the school. We had crosses and everything, and it was taught in school. And when I moved to Warsaw to live with my aunt in a big city, that was kind of shocking to me, because there was no crosses in the schools. We could attend classes, religious classes, but at the church. So religion was totally removed from the schools. That was designed by the government. I didn't understand really when I was younger what was going on, how hard it is and how much government rules our life. Basically, government rule our lives from a day one, when the day we were born until we died. You know, very rarely somebody was born at home. You were born in a hospital, but not in a hospital of your choice. They had the system that, like in a city, when they had, let's say, 3 hospitals in a city, and they had 24/7, 2 hours admission time. And even if you live close to the hospital you want to go to, you could not, because admission was across the city, so you had to go over there. And of course, they were never prepared to admit as many people as they should, so they just put people everywhere. Not enough staff, so people were dying and not being taken care of. That's how wonderful it was. When I was in the high school, I wanted to join the Youth Communist Party, because they were wearing red ties and white blouses, and it was very nice, because the rest of us, we had to wear uniforms. And that was the last time I spoke about belonging to a Communist Party. And believe me, I had a hard time to sit on my butt for a while. So it wasn't nice. Communist Party, we had one ruling party. It was a Communist Party. Not everybody belonged to the party. Of course, they were recruiting and they were trying to start in an early age. But we treated those people who belonged to the party as traitors, because they got better life than the rest of us. And in our opinion, they were selling their souls. Everything under communist government was designed to make our life really miserable. We had no choice, we had no rights, we had privileges, which was very easily taken away from us for whatever reason. Total control of the government, from what we eat, what we read, what we watch on TV, what we can see in the movie theaters. Everything was screened before we can see it. Nothing was passed by the government. We lived in fear all the time. Being afraid of government and being afraid of police. They had rules then they can pick you up from a street for whatever reason, just because they don't like you. And they could keep you for, I believe it was 48 or 72 hours. And they let you out. And if they didn't like you, they pick you up again. And you can they can play this game with you for quite a long time. So there was this constant fear of police, and also basically fight for surviving, because the whole system was designed to make our life miserable. So our life basically was standing in a line to buy everything and being afraid. And Poland, I mean, so many things kind of stuck in your mind. Poland was the biggest producer of sugar beets. And it was not enough for people in Poland to get enough sugar for ourselves. So we're issued like a little stamps, for which of course, we didn't pay for stamps, but we had to pay when we got a sugar. And it was a certain amount per person, designed by the government again. And you had to go and pay for the sugar, and of course sometimes you didn't need whatever amount you got, and you trade with somebody else. So trading, bribing, it was everyday life. Standing in line for everything, and waiting and waiting for everything. For example, if you wanted to get your own apartment, because usually when you get married, you ended up living with your parents or your parents-in-law. It was impossible to get your place on your own. First of all, it was shortage, and also if you could find anything, it was very expensive. So you ended up living with your parents or parents-in-law. You were required, if you wanted to have a place of your own, you were required to put a down payment, and let's say you were like 18, 19 years old, and then you pay every month into the account. And they decided how much square footage you can get. You're a single person, all right? They put you on the list. You wait 10, 15 years, it depends. In the meantime, you got married, you have a couple kids, finally, you got a letter, you're gonna get an apartment, okay? The same square footage, which was designed for one person. Doesn't matter that in the meantime you have a bigger family, it doesn't care, it doesn't matter. You be happy, then you got something. The same if you wanna have a car. You had to pay the whole amount for a car, and then put you on the list. And you wait 5, 7 years, depends. And then, again, letter arrived, you are happy you're getting your car, you go over there, and no matter what kind of car that was available, that was yours. Doesn't matter, had dent, didn't work, doesn't matter. It's yours, you have to take it. Unless you bribe somebody and maybe you can get a better deal. Otherwise, that was yours. So, sometimes people tell me that it's impossible for government to rule your life like that. Oh, it's possible. They knew everything about us. Whenever you get a radio or TV, you had to sign a release, then you have a radio or TV, because they had to know how many radios are there, how many TVs, so they have to know what people are listening or watching to. The same with the typewriters. They knew how many typewriters was out there, and to the point then we had a certain amount of paper, and every single page was counted for, because they were afraid they were going to spread some not popular news around. So yeah, they can control your life. You might think that it's impossible. It's very possible. And like I said, living in fear, it was something. It was an everyday life. I was a nurse back in Poland. I worked in a hospital, and we were young girls, newly married, and usually one of us was pregnant. And those days, they had the rules that pregnant women, they would go and get food, not standing in a line. And line usually was long. I mean, you never know. They open a store, let's say, at 10 o'clock in the morning, and the lines start forming 5 in the morning, and we never knew if they're going to bring anything to the store or not, but you were just standing and waiting so you can get something. So, 5 of us in the hospital working on a shift. One got all the, write everything down for everybody else, went, and so she could get some food for the rest of us. And we switched. So basically 4 people were working, even though it was 5 of us. So it was really interesting. And we had to be very sneaky. We always tried to listen to some news, like Radio Free Europe, secretly at night. We were afraid to talk to each other on the streets. Even if you were standing in line to get anything, people would not talk to each other because you were afraid. You never knew who's going to be next to you. And they had those people everywhere, so we had to be afraid. Education was pretty good in Poland.